Morning students, today I am doing chapter 5 Mother's Day from book Snapshot. A little introduction of it, then I will let you know the summary. The play written by J.B. Priestley reveals how a mother's efforts are ignored by her family. It narrates how the family members who work 8-hour shifts a day look upon her although she works for the whole day and all week. After all she does for them, they take her for granted. They make her feel obligated to provide for them and do not even appreciate her efforts. It revolves around how a friend, Mrs. Fitzgerald, who is a fortuner, tells her to earn the place and respect she deserves as the woman of the house. Now the summary. The play begins with two friends having a conversation. At Mrs. Pearson's house, Mrs. Fitzgerald is telling Mrs. Pearson fortune and advise her on it. Mrs. Pearson goes about telling how a family member don't value her and don't appreciate whatever she does for them. She is available for them 24/7 and all they do is come in, throw orders around at her and leaves without even saying thank you. Mrs. Fitzgerald tells her to take her stand as a woman of the house, but Mrs. Pearson, being the sweet and innocent lady, doesn't want to bring her family any sort of discomfort. She continues to handle the tantrums because she doesn't know where to begin with when it comes to making them disciplined. Mrs. Fitzgerald proposed a plan to switch their body. So Mrs. Fitzgerald convinced her for that magic she will be doing it. From the east and the personalities are changed. Now Mrs. Fitzgerald actually in a Miss Pearson's body and vice versa. Now Mrs. Pearson tells Miss Fitzgerald to go to her house for the time being. At this moment in the play, Doris Pearson, daughter of Mrs. Pearson, enters the scene, asking for tea and ordering Mrs. Pearson to iron a yellow silk. She gets shocked at the sight of her mother smoking, and from there the argument begins. When Mrs. Pearson insults Charlie Spencer, the guy she is about to go out with, Doris leaves crying and Cheryl, her brother, enters asking for tea and something to eat. He too is amazed at having come home to see that there is nothing to eat and no tea to drink. Upon asking if anything is wrong, Mrs. Pearson tells him that she had never felt better. Cyril gets annoyed and Doris joins him, where they are told that Miss Pearson might even take the weekend off. Next day, George Pearson enters the scene. Shocked to see his wife day drinking, he announces that he has some special match at the club, that he won't be requiring any tea this afternoon. On being told there is no tea, he gets annoyed again. Mrs. Pearson mocks him for getting annoyed and not getting something he didn't actually want. She tells him about the names they call him at the club. She further taunts him that she would not have happened had he stayed at home once in a while. After a while, Mrs. Fitzgerald enters. She interferes in the family matters. George gets annoyed when Mrs. Fitzgerald calls him by his name. But just like it had been happening all day, Mrs. Pearson's barrage in to bring George on track. Doris enters the scene and she too is not very pleasant to Mrs. Fitzgerald. Mrs. Pearson brings her on a track too. At this point, Mrs. Pearson, loses her cool and asks the family members to excuse the two friends for a moment. She promises them that she knows how to make the situation better. Mr. Fitzgerald asks Mrs. Pearson to switch their bodies, and while Mrs. Fitzgerald insists at first, but later she agrees to do it. They repeat the process they did in the first place. The real Mrs. Fitzgerald now explains Pearson's how important it is for her to be a bit dominating once in a while to establish her control and respect. The family enters, and Miss Pearson suggests that the play rummy and the kids make supper. Everyone instantly agrees and they are bit relieved too. Mrs. Fitzgerald exists and the play ends. Thank you students. Tomorrow we will be doing explanation.